Okay, let's get through another set of questions. I'm going to attempt, I'll see how in terms of time it takes me. I'm going to attempt to go from 107 to 115. Let's see. But anyway, that doesn't really matter. So 107, so it says that you're preparing an activity-based budget, and these are the driver rates. So here, this is where budgeting is driven by the rates. We've found out the actual drivers, and we can put, if you like, and we can put some kind of value to them. And we have here, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward question. We almost know the cost driver rate. This is what these are. And it says that in this leisure department, leisure services department, you have the following cost driver occurrences. And you have creditor payments. This happens during the year. So it's £10 each, and then this is £15. So I'm literally going times 10, times 15, times 180, times 12. Right? So this gives you 22000. This gives you 15,000. 35 times 180 gives you 6,300. And that 1,500 times 12 gives you 18,000. All of this together, you end up with the wonderful 61,300. So, question 108, a written question. What model of budgeting involves the following? So, look at this carefully. Review the organization's objectives and prioritize them. Identify programs. Evaluate alternatives. Select the most cost-beneficial option. So you can see that this is really a system. And if you see, these guys aren't really, well, zero-based budgeting and activity-based budgeting, I wouldn't really call a system. This tends to focus on just a project. So zero-based budgeting is about clearing everything and starting from scratch. Activity-based costing is the question we just did in 107, where we find cost drivers and then cost. But this is bigger than that, isn't it? So you can see straight away that definitely this is about planning, programming, and having a budgeting system. So the answer is A. But again, a good advisory, make sure you look through that workbook 3. Just stream it again really quickly to make sure you're comfortable. Okay, let's look at what's going on here. Again, this is just really, I feel like, the application of maths. You just make sure you're comfortable. I'm sure you've read the question before you've come to this again. So what are we talking about here? We have some, they're telling us that they want to know what the, if you like, the annual running costs. So revenue expenditure, so to speak. Yes, we have, we're going to borrow some money, but it's the interest that becomes revenue expenditure. So the interest, 6% times 1 million, which is, if you like, the 60,000, right? That's the interest cost based on that. So we have an interest cost here, and we have all these other costs, and we have this income. So typically, I imagine that with these sort of authorities, you're not aiming to, the aim is not to, well, interesting if you're profitable, but really you have, this is what I refer to as net revenue, the net revenue cost. So really what are we saying? Add all the costs together. It's 50,000 plus 60,000, if you like, and that should give you, I believe, 320,000. And you have net revenue of coming in of 30,000, just to sort of shave that off a little, and you end up with 290, if you like, as your net revenue cost. So really, we're just applying general income and expenditure arguments to budgeting. Now, beyond budgeting, I'm going to go very quickly to that. Beyond budgeting is very much a theory, if you like, by the World Bank. We looked at it already, and it's really, it'll be good for you to look at this. Very much about long-term objectives. The whole idea is just thinking of ways to think about governance and transparency, and think about it. Look at the big picture. Take that holistic, big picture approach, if you like, to making decisions. You can see it's about teams, trust, accountability. Teams should be trusted to regulate their performance rather than micromanaged. Holistic criteria, peer reviews, not hierarchical, relationships, goals, rewards on relative performance, not on fixed targets. So coming back to the question, resulting in higher costs is not technically true. It might do, but it doesn't in the long run. It doesn't really tell us in what run, in what time. making the recommended changes will always result in performance improvements. Well, this is again, these two are like these, we can't be sure, we can't be certain. It does require decentralized, so this is a fact, at least we know that. It does require decentralized organizational structure because we're trying to give people more power to make decisions, and it will require significant cultural change. So all these three are wrong, and that C is correct. So I've just mentioned these words right now, haven't I? Values, governance, transparency, and all of that I talked about in Beyond Budgeting. Right, so that's where we're going there. So this holistic big picture approach, if you like, to budgeting. It's an interesting one. It's just a busy question. So I'm going to go to a blank screen, question 113. It's just a blank. It's just a busy question. So question 113. Make sure you can see it. Nothing crazy, just long. I was almost tempted to use a spreadsheet, but I won't. I'm just going to stick to writing it out. So it says a company manufactures pots. I'm just going to write there pots. I'm going to give enough space. Pots, pans, and kettles. Okay. The usual selling price is 12, 15, and 20. Okay. The company plans to produce 2,000. So they plan to produce 2,000. So this is production. 2,000 pots, 1,600 pans, and 1,000 kettles. That's the plan. And I'm just going to change my pen color just because. So it says it has an opening inventory. So opening inventory of 20 pots, 50 pans, and no kettles. And it intends to hold, so I'll change my pen color again, intends to hold closing inventory of 20 pans, 20 pans, 20 pots, and 10 kettles in stock at the end of the period. So if you're going to have, fundamentally the question is how many items did we actually sell, which is really what we refer to as the cost of sales. It's the same number because that's what we're doing, right? I'm sure by now you're more than clear about this idea of cost of sales or trying to work out how many items. So you can just make sure you do it logically as well in your mind. If you have 20 items to start with, you produce another 2,000, you want to have 20 left. That means that you're going to push out 2,000. If you're going to have 50 items at the start, you make another 1,600. You're going to have 20 items at the end, so that means you're going to push out 1,630. If you have 1,000 items that you make 1,000, you want to have 10 items left over, and that means you're going to push out 990. So this is your sales budget technically in terms of items: 2,000, 1,630, and 990. I mean, whether it just as a sales budget, we're purely looking at it from a sales point of view. So in terms of putting a sales budget together, which is what this is asking, it says that you will sell these at £12. You will sell these at 15. That's the plan. But it says you're going to sell 100 of these, the kettles, at a discounted price of £10. So you're going to sell 890 at £20, and you're going to sell 100 at £10. That's your plan. So let's work this out very quickly. Here we are. We have 24,000, right? 12 times 2 is 24. We have 0. Oh, I need a calculator here. 1630 times 15. 1630 times 15 is 24,450, and what I have here is 890 times 20 is, here I have here 1,780, and here I have 8,000. So I need to add all these figures together. And when you add all these figures together, you will get this plus this plus this plus this. You will get a total figure of 67,250. That's what you're going to get. Yeah? So that makes your answer. So if we go back to our board, if we go back to our question sheet, that means that you have an answer of C. Yes, C. Okay, great. And then let's look at yes, question 114 as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in. I'm going to use a blank page a blank page as well, so that you can just sort of see what's going on here. So make sure you've read, I'm sure you've read the question before you're listening to my video. So let's make sure get a new slide. And so what I have here is I have a scenario where it says that a company plans to sell 500 units. So I have period 3 and I have period 4. And it says a company plans to sell 500 units of a product in period 4. So that's what they want to sell. They want to sell 500 units. I'm just going to put here 500 units. That's what they want to sell. So at the end of period 3, it says there are 85 units in stock. So that the 85 units in stock is in your closing inventory. That means that my opening inventory is 85. So my opening inventory is 85. So I'm going to make some more units. And then it says that I would like it to increase to 100. So I would like my closing inventory to be 100 units. The question is, how many units, therefore, am I going to need to make sure I start with 85, I make a certain amount, then I keep 100, and in the end I would have pushed out 500. Exactly the same principle that I've been talking about, even from the last question. So we have 85 plus x minus 100 is equal to 500. Technically, that's what we're really doing, isn't it? However you want to see it. So that means that 85 plus x is equal to, I'm going to take the 100 over there, is equal to 600. So that means that x is equal to 600 minus 85, which is equal to 515. So in effect, I'm going to make 515 pots, or 515 whatever units of this product. I started with 85. I make 515, if you like, and you can sort of see what's going on there. That means I'll have 600. I'll push out 500, and that means I'll have 100 left sitting there. Right? So it's just making sure you have your own way of arriving at that 515. So you have a production budget of 515 units to make, and it says that you need 3 kilograms to make. Each of these need 3 kilograms. So you're going to have to buy, if you like, 515 times 3 kilograms, which takes us to 1545 kilograms. And that takes us nicely to where is she? Where is it? To D. Cool. And very quickly, just so that I can get 115 in here as well. Another slightly, I think again, I'm going to use a blank page. I think they're just practices in you just making sure you're comfortable with your math. I almost feel like using a spreadsheet, but I won't. I'll just jump in. Why not? Okay, you know what? Let's use a spreadsheet for this one. Excel. Let's get an Excel document up. I'm sorry, Excel. I should have Excel. Okay, here we are. Excel. Okay, great. So just to make you sort of see, just because there's a lot of, it seems to be a lot of, just to sort of put everything in there very quickly. So you can see here that, oops, right, very quickly, because it's just one of these sort of annoying ones. Large, but it'll go much faster than medium and small. So what are we saying here? Loom, iron, and plastic. And what we have here is we have 100, 1,000, 200, and we have here 80, 750, and 180. And here we have 160, here we have 500, and here we have 50. So what's the story? So they're telling us fundamentally that we intend on making 100 large. We intend on making 100 large buckets. So in terms of, I'm just going to create insert here. So we want to make, in terms of quantity, we want to make 100 large buckets. We want to make 200 medium buckets, and we want to make 400 small buckets. So really what that now means, I'll just create, just deal with the large first. What that means is that if I want to make, in terms of 100 large buckets, in terms of the quantity of aluminum that I'm going to need to buy, if you like, right, right, times that. I'm going to need 100 times, well, 100, right? And I'm literally going to need to do exactly, I mean, I could start using formulas, but I just want to make sure you understand. If I'm going to need 100, well, I'm going to need, in terms of kilograms, that's what I'm going to need. I'm going to need 100 times all of this. So this is the amount of aluminium I'm going to need to make all the, because the buckets are composed of aluminum, iron, and plastic. Sorry, okay, sorry, look at me. We better be careful here. So yes, that's correct. So I need 100. It's just because it's just all making sure you catch it. If you're going to need 100, you're going to need that, that, and that. Right, exactly. That's where we're going. So so I'm going to do the same for medium. It's just, again, like I say, just annoying. If I want to make 200 of these buckets, I'm going to need 200. Again, I'm just literally multiplying. It takes just long. It's just long, that's all. And then I'm going to need the same thing here, 200 times iron, because it takes, you can see that this is what I need for each product. So therefore for 200 items, I will need 200 times whatever it is that I'm working with. Okay, great. And finally, here it'll be the 400, and here 400. It's taking longer than I thought, but I wanted, but it's sorry. And then I have 400 times this. Okay, great. And then I'm done. So now it says that we do 50 pounds. We buy the aluminum at 50 pounds per kilogram. So all I'm just going to do now is I'm just going to add all the aluminum I'm going to need, which is that, plus that, plus that. I have that. Let me see if that will add across. If it'll skip. So let me just see what this is. Yes, D3. It skips everything. Perfect. So now I'm just going to divide, if you like, because it's per kilogram, so I'm just going to divide each of these by 1,000 because I want it per. I mean, I could have done that in many ways, but just to show you, because right now I have them in grams, right? So I'm just going to go across again and do that. And now I can multiply this by, it says I need 50 pounds. It's 50 pounds per kilogram, 10 pounds per kilogram, and 20p per kilogram, which means that in total for aluminum I will need this 46 times 50. I have that. Here I will need 450 times 10. I will have that. Here I will need 120 times 0.2. And I will have that. And I have to just add all this together. I've done this hoping it's all going to work. I better be correct. If not, that'll be embarrassing. But there, plus, I'll just apologize and do it again in another question. There, plus 24. And I have 6. Yay, it works. So the answer is C. Just because of time, I don't get a chance to do many of these before I make the video. So that's the answer, 6824. It's just long-winded, right? It's just long-winded. This is the longest video I've made, 20 minutes. So apologies. You just have to take your time. You can just make sure you understand exactly what you're doing. It's just a classic application of math question, really. Cool, great stuff. So we'll stop the video there, and so basically that was question, 107, 105 till 115. So I'll see you in the next video.